I worked in Kelowna in the early 80s, and Vernon always had the reputation that they had a very strong social network. And when you're working, you may not see it, but now as a volunteer, I see it. There's lots of things I don't know about, but the feeling in the community is really nice. I greatly appreciate it. Those are the kinds of things I get back, to see how much people want to help people. It's so important.
When we moved into Vernon 3 years ago, brought some donations into Kindale Thrift Store, and there I met Maxine. And kind of convinced me that, yeah, this is something that perhaps I should do. And I had spare time. I'm retired. I had spare time, and the general vibe I got was very good. I felt good about, you know, coming to volunteer here. Yeah.
I love Vernon. It's getting bigger, and I'm worried about that. I hope it doesn't get as big as Kelowna, because Vernon is a wonderful community. They're very, very generous, the people here. They care for each other, the vast majority, so it's a lovely place to live. Well, I've never had a lot of money, but I always thought that I will volunteer because I can't afford to give a lot of money to charities, so I'll volunteer.
Well, I've been 20 years with the Upper Room Mission, and I started volunteering in the kitchen, and I sort of went full circuit into the thrift stores and a little special one we had called the Dollar Bin, and ran that for a few years, and then I'm back in the kitchen again. So, and during that time I also became a board member and was chairman of the board a few years ago. So this is my number one love. I'm also a member of the Vernon Lions Club. So we're I try to be very active in that, and I just chaired the 75th anniversary, which was double special. I'm 78, the anniversary was 75, and my father was the founding president, charter president. So there's a little history. Born in Vernon, so I volunteered as a senior, you want, not as a kid, okay?
No, that's fine.
No, but you know, we were taught to volunteer. My dad, that was a big thing with my dad. We were in business in Vernon, and it was always to give back to the community. And so, you know, and so I have over the years.
I've always done something. I have 2 kids, and so I was a guide leader and a brownie leader and all that kind of stuff. So that's all my beginning of my volunteering stuff. Then when I moved to Vernon, I was working, and I didn't really know a lot of people, and I happened to talk to somebody about, actually I volunteered up at the Sovereign Lake Winter Olympics, it wasn't the carnival, it was some other big race thing that they were having up there. So I volunteered there, and at the very last day they did an appreciation dinner, lunch sort of for everybody. And driving back in the bus, I happened to be sitting by a fellow, and you know, we got chatting, and and I said something about, you know, I thought maybe I might volunteer at the theatre just for something different, because I've never had theatre background. And he said, oh, well, what can you do? As far as theatre goes, I sew. Well, took my phone number, and the next thing I know, 10 years later, I'm still volunteering at the theatre in one capacity or another. Yeah. So that was, you know, that was my biggest volunteer thing here in Vernon.
But since I've been retired, which is now 5 years, you know, obviously the doors open just a little more to do some different things. And one of the things I do is act as part of the Powerhouse Theatre in Vernon, which I'm actually the president at the moment. No, with Powerhouse, absolutely not. No, nobody is paid.
All volunteer?
All volunteer. I think we have a part-time paid bookkeeper. But everybody else, from the president right down to you know, to the costume lady who looks after all of our costumes. Of course, very often you find the volunteers tend to be people who have the time and ability to volunteer, and that usually or often means retired people, but not exclusively. Depending on where your interest and your passion lie, certainly volunteering is a way of, in some senses, marrying a passion that you have with an opportunity to do things for which you don't get monetary reward or recompense. So for me, volunteering with the theatre, by extension now volunteering here at O'Keeffe, which is just an enhanced theatre opportunity, it's wonderful. But you know, theatre doesn't stop with people on the stage. For instance, you know, we need costume people and set builders and set designers and hairstylists and makeup people and organizers in an administration capacity. We have programs to design and posters to design and marketing stuff to happen. So usually in the theater sense, that's a pretty big catch-all. You know, somewhere in most people, one of those elements will exist. And Powerhouse, for instance, is truly committed to literally having people walk in off the street saying, you know, I'm interested in this. I'm a graphic designer. Well, have we got jobs for you? Yeah, it works wherever you choose. Out here at O'Keeffe, exactly the same.
When I first came here to Vernon, I decided to volunteer because I didn't know anyone. And I had nothing on a resume to get started with, because everything has to be certified in this province or different provinces. So I started volunteering just to get out into the community, to be part of the community, to meet other people, because when you meet other people, it leads to different connections. And it still gives you a purpose. And doing this, eventually you get a job, and when you get a job, you're more part of the community. And then when you have spare time, if you want to volunteer, you choose to do so, or you work overtime. One thing about volunteering I've learned in the past is you choose your hours, they're just happy to have you. So you can juggle your time. You know, I have yard work, I have, like everybody else, a different part of my life that's not involved in volunteering. But 2 or 3 or 4 hours once a week or twice a week always comes in handy for an organization, and this is what I do. Vernon has everything for everyone. It has everything from the arts to the history, to the hospital, to St. John Therapy, to the dog shelters. You know, it's just a matter of finding what you like to do.
Well, actually, I've got connections with the ranch through family. My family were also pioneer family since the late 1800s. I grew up in Enderby, and then 2 of my aunts married an O'Keeffe and a Schubert. So when the old log house was broken up, when Grandma had to move out, she came to live with her daughter, Grace O'Keeffe, in Vernon, and many of the items from Granny's house have been donated to the ranch. So I had been asked if I would come out and bring my spinning wheel here one day when they were doing a Victorian Christmas. So I did that. I said, well, we won't be putting you in the mansion, we'll just put you in the log house. I walked in and went, I'm home. And here was all these wonderful things from the house that was beside where I grew up. And it was just like I stepped back in time. So I just kind of feel like maybe I was born in the wrong century and this is really where I belong. That's awesome. It's great fun. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Things that interest you are the things that you will do the best. So get in there and help somebody out with something. And I mean, you talk about a veterinary clinic, go and just help clean cages for a while, get to know the pets, sweep the floor. It doesn't matter, it's all help, right? So yeah, I think there's all kinds of places that you can find a niche that will suit you. Yeah.
I first joined Schubert, I was at Loose Ends, and my mother volunteered there on the front desk. And so we were a mother-daughter team. We worked on the same days.
I was going to ask, how have you learned this from your mother or your father, or is it a
Yeah.
family thing?
Yeah, so Mom was already volunteering, and I was bored. I don't like being bored. So she said, well, come down to Schubert. And I would have worked on the front desk, but I thought, oh, they have to know so much. Like everything that's going on in the center, they have to know. So I went to membership. Things don't change much there.
Right.
There's a lot to know, but it doesn't change.
So your mom was the one that got you into volunteering, but now you're continuing it on your own. So
I am.
Your own legacy.
Yes, I just love it. It's so rewarding.
I come from a Christian family, and my mom has always done volunteer work, and so it was just a no-brainer to follow in her footsteps. And so I volunteered. We used to live in Winfield, and I volunteered at the Kelowna General Hospital in the dialysis unit for 5 years, and then COVID came along, and volunteers weren't allowed in the hospital. And I also volunteered at the food bank in Winfield for close to 10 years, and then we moved to Vernon a year ago. So I knew that I couldn't get on at the hospital because COVID was still going on, and so I went to seek out where the food bank was in town, and the food bank is run by the Salvation Army out of their House of Hope Church. So I volunteer there 1 day a week, giving out food hampers and working in the back, and then living here, I found out about the Upper Room Mission and what they do. So they needed someone, and so I come here 2 days a week and help out in the kitchen.
I started volunteering when I was 4. I come from a family who are not rich by any stretch of the imagination, in fact, probably on the lower end, but they all, due to their religious background, really felt that they were required, following the rules of Jesus, to serve other people. So there was always room at our table for one more, a bed. My sister and I often got kicked out of our beds. And then my mother would look around the community and see people that she felt needed a little handout. And she'd do lovely things. We'd collect stuff and give it to them. And something she did that I always wanted to do but never lived in the right neighborhood to be able to do this. On May Day, May 1st, she'd make lovely, lovely little cookies and do fancy little bags or baskets that she just made out of stuff. And she'd fill that up, and then early in the morning, we'd go around the community and hang them on the door. So that people would come to wishing you a happy May, you know. But she did those kinds of things. So I grew up in that, and then I just got really involved all my life through elementary school, high school, and then when I was married up in the Caribou, got really active in the community and schools, hospital auxiliary, the arts community, and at one point was pretty well a full-time volunteer. My kids would go off to school, my husband would go off to work, and I'd clean up the house, and then I'd go and do a day of community service. Oh, I love so that. I did that kind of thing long before I started doing this nonprofit work for pay. Wow. And there is a joy in doing it only because you love it. That even though I love the job I currently have, I think I was made for this job. You're doing it for a paycheck, and it's lovely. I value my paycheck. But when you do something just because you love it, that's a different level of satisfaction. And I've always found that in my volunteer work. I never felt I was put upon. I was doing it simply because I loved it, and I felt I had something that I could offer to that particular organization or the community. But it did me a whole lot more good than it ever did anybody else.
Oh yeah, my mom was a volunteer. I was born right in the Coal Stream here in Vernon, and she was in the Women's Institute, and she was always volunteering. She worked at the Georgette shop for years. That's a thrift shop in town, and she did meeting. They used to phone people and greet them in the morning on the phone, people who were shut in. what was it called? I can't remember. They'd phone and say, "Hi, it's Maida. How are you feeling?" and just checking in on you. And she worked in crisis line too, so she did lots of volunteering. Yeah. So I had a good role model. She was quite an amazing woman. Yeah. Well, it's wonderful for me because I'm getting old and I can't, a lot of stuff I can't do. You know, I used to ride horses and cowboy and all kinds of stuff, but now, you know, I'm in my 80s now, and yeah, I kind of, it's a nice thing to fill in doing things like this. Yeah, I do a lot of gardening and music are my main things right now. Nice. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's wrong. I played in a band. We came out one Christmas and did a Victorian Christmas, and we played in the big merchandise place. Yeah, we played there. So I guess I have been out. I've done a few things like that. Yeah, I've played at a lot of places around town, but this is fun out here. Excellent. Mm-hmm. What's the band? Oh well, we aren't together anymore. We were together for about 40 years, to be honest. We called ourselves the Chili Creekers because we're all from the Coldstream and Coldstream Chili Creek. And we played at everything under the sun. And I played the piano, and there was an accordion player and a banjo and washboard with thimbles. And then my husband played a gut bucket, a great big tub with a bass. So we had a ball. We played all over the place. A lot of, yeah, and it was mostly always volunteer stuff. Just, yeah, it's fun. And so I immediately, like, one of the most fun things our band ever played for was the Christmas party for the people who were handicapped. Oh my gosh, they had so much fun. I played polkas for like 3 hours nonstop because they just love dancing. They're so much fun. I love playing. And it was so funny, we got in there and we were supposed to have a meal. And I said to one of the people who were running it, I said, "Do you want me to play a little bit before?" "No," she said, "don't go near the piano. They'll all get up and we'll never get them to sit down and eat." Oh, they're such fun people. So I'd like to do that again someday.
Well, I retired some years ago, and I like to keep busy. Despite the fact that I'm not working in a career anymore, I still have a lot of energy and creativity that I wanted to express. And I also paint. I'm an acrylic painter, and I was a musician for many years. And I don't play anymore, but I do paint, and I'm having some success with my paintings now. But I like to do different things, and I thought this role play character business sounded very fascinating. And as it turns out, I've taken to it quite strongly. Right. Yes. I have volunteered. I volunteered with NOTRA for a while, which is the North Okanagan Therapeutic Riding Association. And they actually are here part of the season up the hill here. And that's working with people with disabilities and riding. I did that for a while. And some years ago, I volunteered with a dog rescue society, and I wrote their newsletter for them. So that was a lot of fun. And I did get a little rescue dog from them, who is no longer with me, but she was just lovely.
I decided I'm not happy enough. I need to be more happy. So I was going through my hockey cards, and I've been an extensive hockey card collector for many, many years, since the 80s. Yeah, I needed a bedroom to house them. Yes. I have some wonderful cards. But anyway, to get to the point, I also had this Mark Messier hockey stick. And I was feeling really down. It was 2 days before Christmas. And I called the hospital. And I thought to myself, I'm going to give this hockey stick to someone in the hospital. And I asked on the pediatric ward if there was a little boy or girl that was interested in hockey. And sure enough, there was a little 7-year-old, and it was Christmas Day. He was going to still be in the hospital. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've got to go and see him. Take this hockey stick to him. So I wrapped it up like a very large white and red candy cane, took it into the hospital, went up to the floor, and said, I'm the one that called to give this hockey stick away. And she said, oh, the little boy is waiting. And I said, you had a visitor, and he is waiting for you. So I peeked my head in the door, tilted the hockey stick, and said, Merry Christmas, I'm Sandy Claus. Well, everyone laughed. His parents were there as well. Yeah. He was so happy to get it. And I thought, oh, that wonderful feeling came back to me. And I thought, yeah, it is better to give. It definitely is. Yeah. My life turned around. Just completely turned around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
The first year we were doing Meals on Wheels, every year at Christmas the quilt guilds make gorgeous placemats for us. The Silver Star Quilt Guild and the After Seven So-and-Sos, and there's a Wednesday group that meets, and I'm telling you, these placemats are to die for. And our chef makes cookies, and every year at Christmas we give them a placemat with some cookies. And the first year we did that, a lady wrote us a thank you card, and that was, she said, that was the only gift she got. It just broke my heart. She had no family. So, little things like that. Yeah, little things like that. It's that really gives you the warm fuzzy.
Shows how important it is to volunteer.
And such a little thing as a placemat and a couple of cookies. It just, yeah, makes me tear up.
Yeah.
And she was such a lovely lady.
That I've seen men, young men and women, come off the streets and have children that are now going to college. And I've walked into this particular one, and I walk into one of the grocery stores, and this gal comes up and hugs me every time and says, "You changed my life." And I said, "No, you changed your life. I just sort of helped you." And there's so many. And seniors, you know, with taking seniors around or taking them for a walk. There's another thing, you know, we should walk when we're seniors. We should get out and walk. If you go and walk another person, it's double good. It double, you know, double the benefits, because you're getting the exercise, getting a little bit of a chat, and you're doing a kind thing. And again, they're doing it for me. So, you know, there's I have a book actually of memory things from different ones, and it is really, really incredible when you see that ones that you could almost give up hope on. The one gal I went through, and she was working, and it was just at a drive-in, so we couldn't talk long, and I said, "How are you doing?" She said, "We have a house, we just bought a truck, Johnny's going to college, you know, and something else," and she said, "All because of the time that you, people like you, gave us." So, you know, that's a nice thing to have when you're sitting at home, is to know that you know, and all the time, it still helps me more than it does them. Yeah. I can go to bed and say, "Thank you, God, for another day," and really mean it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. At the hospital, like I said, when I was in there twice a week at the same time, the same people were always there at that time for their dialysis. And so for sure, you know, when Christmas came along, there was 3 or 4 elderly ladies that always got me something for Christmas. And there was one lady who was always giving me little, you know, Halloween-sized chocolate bars, you know, when I was there. And she would say, "I know this isn't enough, or it's not much, but this is, you know, how sweet you are to me, and I just want you to know." And so, for sure, and then of course people on dialysis don't live forever. Their lives are usually cut a lot shorter than the rest of us. And so there was even a few of us volunteers and nurses that would go to some of these people's funerals. That's how attached you get to them. And then, you know, you meet the family at the funeral, and of course they have never seen you, and so you tell them that you're from the hospital and you were one of the volunteers. Well, then of course they go, "Are you Jay? And Mom used to talk about you all the time," you know. So yeah, you know that what you're doing is valuable, it's rewarding, and it's worthwhile when you hear those kinds of things. Yeah.
I think volunteering is, well, first of all, it's what built our country, is that everybody pitches in, community members help other community members, and it doesn't matter whether they were building a town hall or the church bazaar or whatever. Everybody just pitched in, did their little bit. So of course, as I say, I'm from a pioneer family, and those traits have been passed down. My mom was always up to her elbows in helping somebody with something, or baking for whatever, And so yeah, you just kind of grow up with the fact that you get out of a community what you put into a community. And so if you're there helping other people or helping to improve the quality of something, then that quality is also there for you to enjoy. And so I think that goes for a lot of things, and it's sad that some of that is being lost in today's electronic society. I really feel that you go home from a day of volunteering and you feel better within yourself. So does that sound really selfish? I think that it's something that you feel better when you've helped someone else. And it doesn't matter what it is that you've helped them with. You've improved their life, which makes you feel pretty good. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it's all good. On the other hand, you are giving of yourself. I mean, it would be easy to say, oh no, I just want this time for myself. I think I'll just sit here on the couch and complain a little. Some people get into that rut. And that's kind of sad, Whereas if they could force themselves to get off and get going and see who they can help, the next thing you know, they've met a friend who's doing exactly the same thing for the same reasons. Suddenly you've got a buddy. And then the next week it might be 4 of them, and so on. And so again, that's how community grows. Community in its true sense of the word. Yeah.
I just want to give things back. I know this is trite, but I like to give things back to the community. And I don't mind donating my time. It's all I have to donate, you see, so it has to be my time.
Yeah, if you have it to donate.
That's right. Otherwise, I'd just be sitting in front of TV playing on my iPad. Yes, not very constructive. I'd rather do something.
Oh, I totally feel that the reason that that volunteerism has changed in that way is just available options. So we have so many available options for our time, one of which is super obvious, which is we have technology. So we certainly can spend a lot of time taking online courses, just watching movies. We can connect with our families from across continents for hours on end where we wouldn't have had that connect at all. And so in our aloneness, we would be out volunteering, and which is a fabulous reason to volunteer. There's no reason for anyone to be alone.
And it was wonderful. I mean, there's no reason to sit at home. There's stuff to do. And, if you don't know anybody, well, you find the paper and, you just go from there. Because there's just no reason to be bored. Yeah. And open your mind. Open your mind to different things and different avenues, different clubs, different people, just keep an open mind and look around and see what's there, and don't shut yourself off to, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that. You don't have to do anything. You just get out there and do, because that's the biggest thing, is to just get involved.
I feel contributing gives me a sense of purpose. It keeps my self-esteem going, and I have a lot to look forward to every year. And it's just better than sitting at home and not being part of something. And I look forward to it. At the end of the week or end of the day, I feel happy that I've given something to the community. It's such a joy, especially at the O'Keefe Ranch, when you meet people from all over the world. You see the kids come, you teach them about the different artifacts in the general store. Their eyes pop open when I show them what their bathtub would look like, or the hand pump vacuum cleaner, to how modern and everything has become now. It's knowledge. We're passing on knowledge, and I think it's really important to have that. And every charitable volunteered organization is in the community for you to grow with, to come up with ideas, to be part of. You're part of the team. You're not just even though you live by yourself and you might feel a little bit depressed and down, it's nice when you have a coffee break with a team of people and you're planning future events, or you're just talking about each other, you're taking interest, and sometimes you walk out and meet really good friends. Friends that you will keep for life just because you decided one day to walk through a door and try something different.
Well, if you've got some spare time and you don't need to put a lot of time in, as much time as you feel you can do, come on in, talk to Maxine, talk to Christine, and give it a try.